Hi there, Isha here, and welcome to The Higher Life, where I take concepts that are considered esoteric, spiritual, psychological, and new age, and unpack how you can apply these as practical tools to really improve the quality of your life, or at least the experience of being alive as a human being in a very complex operating environment. Let's be honest. The cultures that we operate inside of are very layered, and it can feel very overwhelming, especially in modern life, to really know how to navigate these complexities while maintaining some kind of stability or consistency in your lives. It does feel a lot like we're constantly being thrown from highs to lows and back again. I mean, there's so many clients that I've worked with over the years that just feel like their life is like a washing machine. They're just being constantly tumbled around and never really coming out the other side the way that they would like to. There is this sense that we're missing something, or we somehow have a blind spot, and if we could just understand how to function properly, we could start to feel that vitality, that exuberance, that sense of purpose that we somehow sense is available. And I think this comes down to a major mindset gap, where the way that we're educated is really about operating on a material plane, and we have very little awareness around our spiritual side or our soul self. So we don't really look or think too much about the kind of patterns that run our lives. I have become very passionate, I guess, over the years about the value of a spiritually driven life. But in order to be able to align with this kind of life, we have to unpack what spirituality really means in this context. For so long, spirituality has been associated with religion, with a doctrine or an ideology, a formula, one could say, on how to be a good person or how to live as a human being. Some religions or ideologies do better in terms of upskilling and providing a toolkit, such as Buddhism, to meet the life's natural uncertainty and the kind of chaotic way that it can be to be in the world, never really knowing what's happening next, and not always understanding why you think, feel, and behave in the ways that you do. And we're making a lot of progress as a species on that. We're coming to understand human potential in more and more mature ways, and really getting a better sense of what makes us tick, not only as individuals, but as a relational beings, and how our relationships shape us and how we shape our relationships. That's an area that I'm really passionate about, relationship systems intelligence. So in this context, spirituality can become a very narrow experience. It can become a relationship that we're having with an authority body that tells us how to be. And that makes human beings very uncomfortable. It makes you comfortable for a little while because you feel like you can hand your power over to something that's got your back. But when it inevitably fails you, which it always does because it's not real, then you have to come back into, okay, what next? How am I going to guide myself and feel supported in this world without relying on these outer authorities? Or, and often we do that to our parents or to other institutions such as governments. We're looking for that parentification. We're looking for somebody that we can lean into, or a system or a belief that will just take the load off our shoulders. And it would be such a nice thing. However, we're not designed for that. We're very resourceful, creative beings, and we want to know our own resourcefulness. So everything in our lives will be pushing us to go out on our own and to walk this path of personal transformation without relying on others to make us feel better, or to tell us what to do, or to recognize us as being valuable. We want to remove our dependency on those outer sources of recognition that give us a kind of purpose or energy. And this is what the spiritually driven life is really offering. So when we talk about spirituality in the spiritually driven life, what we're really speaking to is a resilience, an innate resourcefulness, creativity, and tenacity to keep learning and growing and evolving and expanding and involving through our day-to-day life, using the stimuli, that is, the people, the events, the particular plot or storyline of our personal journey, to be a kind of fuel for that evolution or that empowerment to occur. So put very simply, it's what we speak to about our kids all the time. We want you to be more resilient. But what do we really mean? We mean we want you to be able to meet life as it is, with its uncertainty, with its highs and lows, with its complexities, and feel confident and at ease and self-assured that no matter what happens, you kind of can keep getting up every day and extracting from it something beautiful, something enriching, a kind of life alchemy, I call it. And we need a certain set of skills to be able to do this. And these skills are not usually skills that we've been taught through our family systems or our schooling system. And if anything, both those systems tend to reinforce our dependencies rather than really help us individuate in a context of resilience. So individuation is often referred to as a psychological process, but we also want to be individuated in our resilience. We want to be able to self-fulfill ourselves. We want to be able to self-fuel. We want to be able to have that inner capacity to keep meeting life no matter what is going on around us or who is not in our lives. We don't want to be living our lives waiting for that special someone or waiting for that particular religious doctrine or that spiritual formula that is going to save us from ourselves. No, we want to face ourselves and really understand, how is it that I operate the way that I do? What is my operating model? And in the coaching that I've been doing for years, transformational life coaching, that's the groundwork or the grunt work. Really getting clear on what are my strengths, what are my virtues, what kind of family system and cultural system was I born into, what are the gender structures, where is the fluidity. It's a really deep and broad self-exploration of how the self is actually constructed, because it is a constructed sense of knowing who you are that relies on a process called identification. And what we're really understanding is that identification can create a massive separation within the human species and creates a lot of conflict and destruction. So we're coming to realize that identification is not the optimal way for us to know who we are. And we're going to have to dive deeper or move beyond that superficial way of being a self in the world. However, in the work of coaching or in this spiritual driven life, you get time to work through that. You don't have to transform all of a sudden from being a self that is created through identification to a self that is more aligned with your true nature. It's a process, it's a journey, and we take that journey individually, but we're also taking that journey as a species. We're becoming more aware of what we really are, and in that process dissolving down all these layers of constructed selves that have a partial truth but are illusionary or fragile. They're not real because they're constructed from outside forces, and therefore they can be transformed. So anything that is transforming isn't solid, it isn't stable, it isn't consistent, it has a fragility and insecurity, hence our ego being a naturally insecure self. Of course we have self-doubt when we're operating out of the ego, because it's healthy. It's letting you know that that ego self that you're so attached to is actually just a character in a play that you're playing, and you can step out of that role and step into another one. This is really beautiful inner work. So the spiritually driven life is really transforming how we relate to spirituality and how we understand what our spiritual nature is. I like to keep it really simple. If you're talking to your children, for example, about being more resilient, you're actually speaking to their spirituality, their capacity to connect with their inner resourcefulness, their capacity to see the beauty, to appreciate, to be curious and playful. They are all spiritual values or virtues that we have, and we all share those virtues. So it's such a beautiful and playful way to relate to your spirituality. It can be cultivated. There are many methodologies and tools out there that help us become more spiritually resilient. And usually they move through other pathways or portals such as emotional resilience, psychological well-being. These are other ways that our spiritual nature is strengthened. Because in order for us to withstand some of the pressures and complexities of relational life, we need a certain amount of emotional resilience. And emotional resilience comes from having a healthy spectrum of emotions and knowing how to meet, greet, process, and work with these emotions in a skillful way. All things that we are starting to learn, but definitely there's a huge education gap there. This is why I love doing the work that I do here at Higher Life TV through the courses I offer at Higher Life Academy. There is one singular purpose here, and that is to invite other people like me who've got this passion to live in a really optimal way and to create a world that works for all, that wants to see the end of destruction, of separateness, of otherness, and that we can come together as a united species and really thrive as this one relational system that has so much creativity to offer. And in order for us to do that, we really need to align with this spiritually driven life, and we need to upskill and educate ourselves so we know how to thrive at this level of spirituality. And that will then flow out into all the other layers of self, the creative, the material, the physical, the ego, and we'll see this huge transformation take place. So if you're curious about how you can live in an optimal way, you can become empowered, you can have that life that part of you just knows is available, where you're carefree, joyful, happy, available, you can relate well, then you're looking to align with this spiritually driven life and to start really focusing on and servicing that spiritual aspect of your nature. So if this sounds interesting, absolutely check out more of my videos here. I'm closing that education gap through Higher Life TV by really bringing in these tools that thousands, if not millions, of human beings have worked over centuries to refine, to develop and refine, so that here in this modern time we can get out there and apply these tools practically, like compassion, empathy, forgiveness, tolerance, emotional intelligence, social intelligence, relationship systems intelligence. There is so much amazing work being done in the coaching field especially, but in all the fields, therapy, psychology, probably out in the business world, in governments, where we're getting clear on this need to transition into and ascend into a spiritually driven life. So I hope this has been helpful. I hope this improves your day, gives you hope that there is a way forward where we can really unite and be the loving, creative, joyful, soulful, and even melancholic beings that we are born to be. So until next time, take care and love life.